Shatner. Did you love that panel or what? Where are you? Come on, make some noise. Come on down here to the main stage. Yes. We have another great panel for you. Before I get into that, I want to thank once again Tiltify for powering our main stage. And I want to just remind you that we have another cosplay costume coming up. Now the adults can't have all the fun. The kids gotta have some fun too. I see a lot of great costumes out here. We got the Power Rangers, Luigi from Super Mario Brothers. You guys look amazing. Now remember, kids 12 and under, go and register because you get to be in a contest too. Like I said, the adults can't have all the fun. This is for the kids too. So don't forget to register for our kids cosplay contest that's going to be happening at the end of the day if you are 12 and under. Now, let's get this party started with our next panel. Are you ready? Okay, coming on over to the main stage, everybody. It is going to be so much fun, and I have to say, isn't it a great day to be alive, Comic-Con? And that leads us into this next panel discussion. We at the main stage, powered by Tiltify, would like to invite you to join a special guest, Keith David from The Thing and Nope. Give it up for The Thing and Nope, Keith David. Come on now, make some noise. You're going to join Keith David for a live recording of the brand new podcast series from Lionsgate Sound, Playing Dead, hosted by Michael Nathanson. Playing Dead features in-depth conversations with actors and creatures who have brought iconic characters to life and ultimately to their death. And here to get us started is Playing Dead's host, Michael Nathanson. Give him a roar, Comic-Con. Welcome.
Yo, what's up, Comic-Con? To that theme song. Hey everybody, come on, let's give it up! Come on, let me hear you! How you guys doing today? Thanks for joining us. I am Michael Nathanson, and we are here to bring you a very special live recording. This is a live recording of an episode of our brand new podcast from Lionsgate Sound, Playing Dead, available now, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get them. So excited to be here with you all to introduce one of the greatest actors of all time. He's been in so many amazing movies. He's been in so much amazing TV. Give it up for the incomparable Mr. Silver Throat himself, Keith David! Hold on. Can we cut the music? Let's cut the music. We just need to make sure before, we start this. Just check them out. Make sure they're okay.
No, I'm not putting that shit on. No. Put them on! Oh, we don't play that. Put them on! Put on the glasses!
Thanks, Keith. Wait, I'll put mine on too. Hold on.
Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Are you kidding me?
You guys are good. What a dork. You guys, this is an amazing thrill for all of us to have Keith here to talk about life and death. So Keith. Come on! Yes! So as we like to do on our show, we talk to actors, creators about what it means to play dead. What is that like? What is it like to take on a project, you know you're gonna die. No, none of us know what it's like to die, right? Or what happens in that moment. We can't really report back. So as an actor, as an artist, how do you prepare? How do you handle a death scene?
Well, it all depends on how it's written. Is it supposed to be, sentimental? Do we care about the guy? I love those moments when it really is, it's supposed to be, somewhat touching, because I know a friend of mine, his mother died in his arms, and he talked about the drama of life watching her take her last breath, and what's that like? You know, now I've never seen anybody expire. You know, when my own mother died, I thought, God, I wish that I wanted to be there so bad, as if my being there would have stopped her from dying. Now, that ain't true, because God didn't ask me, and neither did she, you know. But there's something about, especially when we see it well played, it's a wonderful moment because you care about that life. I mean, when, you know, it makes very real to me that every life on the planet, everyone in this room today, means something to somebody. The world would not be the same without you. And your passing through this life is going to mean something to somebody at some point. And it's kind of wonderful to get to explore that, whatever that is.
When you're playing that scene, whatever it may be, even if it's a science fiction epic or if it's something, you know, more true to life, what goes through your mind in that moment when your character is supposed to die? Do you have a thought?
Don't breathe and let the camera catch me.
Been there. Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's so many deaths we could talk about in your career, so many amazing performances, so many truly like bloody, weird, fucked up movies that you died in. So I think only appropriate to start with The Princess and the Frog. Give it up for The Princess and the Frog, please. My personal favorite Disney movie. My kids' personal favorite Disney movie. Soon to be a rethemed Splash Mountain extravaganza. I think they just announced yesterday they're shutting down Splash Mountain in Disney World to put it up, to start refurbishments. They haven't announced Disneyland, but
right.
So you are Dr. Facilier.
Yes, sir. Mais oui, c'est dans les bons.
C'est l'argent bon. I'm just, that's like the French guy.
Mettez les bons temps roulés.
I speak actor French, just under my breath. So, you know, unique to the world of death on screen, you're an animated character who dies. So you're in a voiceover booth. You're working on this thing for God knows how long. It's a Disney movie, so I'm sure they've got you tied to that booth for a year or so. What is it like preparing to die as an animated character? And what is that journey? Can you tell us a little bit about the journey of Dr. Facilier and where he ends up?
It was fun for me because it's all the lead up. He keeps saying, you know, he starts out saying, I have friends on the other side, you know. And so we're waiting for my friends to act friendly. I mean, my friends don't treat me badly. And when he finds out that, you know, since he screwed up so badly, well, his friends have abandoned him. And so what is that like? You have to build up the belief of that friendship. So when you see it betrayed, he falls from a very high place.
He really believes that these...
he's not, you know, it's like, give me one more chance. It's not gonna, you know, I haven't finished yet. I still have other ideas, you know, I mean, that's...
And then they drag you, so, I mean, essentially you're in the voiceover booth, you're imagining these, they have or are you doing it to the animation at that point?
No.
So you're imagining what these creatures look like, what these drawings look like, whatever it is, what the scenery looks like, and that moment where they're dragging you, and you're clawing your way through that cemetery, and they suck you into that other world, the spirit world?
Yeah, well, to me it reminded me of, I'm a really old movie buff. Anyone in the room know a movie called Angels with Dirty Faces? You remember the moment when they tell him that his mother dies in the prison, and he's like, and he goes crazy.
Yeah.
You know, well, it reminded me of that moment. It's like, no, don't, you know, I don't want to die. I don't want, that's...
So, I mean, it's as real as anything else. You're still channeling the same emotions, the same, whatever you're going to bring to that moment.
If I were playing it live action, I wouldn't play it any differently.
You play it just...
You would just be seeing me,
Yeah, that's right. And then you end up with that that horrified face on the tombstone. Man, that is a way to go out.
Well, think of A Picture of Dorian Gray. Anybody know that movie? Picture of Dorian Gray. Remember?
Yeah, give it up for A Picture of Dorian Gray.
You remember the painting in the closet?
Yeah. There's a picture of you, instead of aging, dying on that tombstone. I love it. So let's just take it back a little bit. A few years before then. So you're a stage actor by training.
I've been called worse, but yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, listen, you're in good company here. That's where I come from too, unfortunately. So your first big movie role was...
The Thing. John Carpenter.
By a little-known director named John Carpenter. The Thing. My personal favorite horror movie. And you played Childs.
Yes.
Now, I just want to know a little bit about, how did you meet Carpenter? Was it an audition? Was it like, how did he find you? How did that whole process take place?
It was an audition, of course. I first met with David Foster. And then he invited me to come back and read. At that time, all the actors in New York, it was 40 years ago. So
40 years ago this year?
40 years ago this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were a couple of rounds of auditions. So I read with a couple of people. It was really great. But I believe, I don't really know this for sure. But I think what happened was Roger Mosley was going to get the part. And I think Roger would have been a great Childs as well. But at the same time that The Thing was casting, he got cast in Magnum P.I. So he took Magnum P.I., which opened up a spot that I got. So every time I see him, I say, he just passed away, but every time I see him, I say, hey man, thank you.
Well, that's funny, because Tom Selleck didn't do Indiana Jones, right? Isn't that the story?
Right.
He didn't do Indiana Jones because of Magnum P.I., so both of those guys gave up some pretty iconic roles.
For some more, for another iconic
For some good
role.
For some good money over a number of years.
And such an iconic role that they've rebooted, and it's doing really well.
Yeah, sure enough. That movie is full of iconic deaths. It's literally like one disgusting, fucked up, iconic death after another. And it's such a pantheon of like incredible actors. Like like the greatest character actors of a generation were multiple generations were in that movie. What was it like to work with those guys and watching them expire one after the other?
The thing that I liked about The Thing the most was, as everybody got eaten up or killed, whatever it was, you got to care about each character. So you were a bit invested in everybody. So when the first guy dies, you go, oh, not him, oh, and so you got to care about the people. That was a great tribute to the writer. Also, John, for the way he crafted the story, but the actors, what they brought to the table, so that they made you care about them.
And it's funny because it's such a condensed story too. It's not like there's all this build-up with all these characters. You don't get to know them for so long, but they are fully realized human beings. And so
yes,
when you're working with these guys, did you guys like do any sort of isolation kind of hangout where they put you in a place to sort of be alone in a space together for a while to get the relationships
not on that
going?
movie, but something that I've only had one other experience like it, and we rehearsed for 2 weeks. We actually sat around the table reading the script for 2 weeks, fixing this, fixing that. And as I remember, Charlie Hallahan, Richard Masser, and Kirk, they were and maybe David Clennon, they were the sort of sci-fi buffs. They really, that was their genre that they were very thoroughly versed in. So whenever we came across a hole, a sort of hitch in the giddy up as far as what we believe and what we don't believe, we would address. Finally, after 2 weeks, John said, "Okay, fellas, that's enough. We're not going to fix anything else. This is the script we're going to shoot." Okay, and that's what we did.
Amazing. You've been asked this question an annoying number of times. We had a conversation about this. Can you just tell people what that ending is really all about? Were you breathing or were you not breathing? Please tell them definitively so they can all hear it.
Well, in the realm of was I breathing, is that a real question? I mean,
was the thing breathing or was Childs breathing? I saw smoke coming out of your mouth.
I wouldn't know, but everybody asks that question and they base it on the fact that there's no breath coming out of my mouth, right? That's the basis for that question, correct? Now, how many of you have ever camped out?
There's a lot of hands.
How many of you have ever camped out in the wintertime when it was cold as hell? Now, when it's that cold and damp, the condensation will form that smoke in front of your face, right? Now, if you've ever sat in front of a fire and the wind shifts in your direction, there's no smoke because there's too much heat for the smoke to come out.
It's science,
no one ever thinks about that. I mean, we're sitting outside, the wind is shifting, we're in Antarctica, it is cold as hell, and we're sitting in front of a fire. When the wind shifts, there's no smoke coming out of my mouth. So, is it a monster? Well, I don't think so, but you saw it, you can believe whatever you like.
Oh man, he just left it open again. I thought we were getting the answer.
Know it wasn't me. But if it was me, I wouldn't know it, right?
I think at that point, the monster really got to understand how to be human, so it was pretty convincing if it was. I guess we'll never know. Or will we?
You'll just have to go watch it again.
I think you should go
Draw
watch
your
it again.
own conclusion.
And by the way, if you get a chance to watch it on the big screen, there's nothing scarier. It is the greatest horror movie ever made. That's just my 2 cents. So that starts your journey with John Carpenter. Little pit stop in a movie called Platoon. Now, we don't see you die in Platoon.
Because I don't die.
I know, you're one of the only people who doesn't die in that movie. You make it home, you take that freedom bird home. It's such an iconic performance. Just tell us a little bit about the training. I know you did a ton of training. You watch people die in that movie, right and left, and that kind of death is as realistic as it gets. It's war, it's young men dying for some kind of cause that maybe doesn't even exist. Just tell us a little bit about what that role and what that movie meant to you.
When The Thing came out, it didn't get critical acclaim. The critics did not love it. E.T. had come out, and E.T. sort of eclipsed all the sci-fi genre films. Poltergeist was out, and the critics, like I said, just did not love it. So only since then, right now, we're still here 40 years later talking about it because it was such a good movie, but it wasn't at the time, And I thought I had gotten some honorable mention, so I thought, wow, maybe I'm going to have a life in the movies. Well, I didn't work again after The Thing for 4 years. It took 4 years for me to get cast in another movie. That movie was Platoon.
To wait for a movie, a good movie to wait for.
Well, since Platoon, which is now 30-something years old, 36?
36, yeah.
I've done at least one film a year, every year since then. So that was good. It was worth the wait.
And then John calls you to work on They Live, and I believe I read that he was writing it with you in mind to play Frank.
That's what he said, yeah. He called me up.
Tell us a little bit about that process. And a movie in They Live, obviously more resonant today than ever.
I think that They Live is much more significant today than it was back in '88. And if you look closely, although he wasn't in the political running, the character that was played by Buck Flower looks like Donald Trump. With all the bling, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we like to say maybe underneath Donald Trump's skin. Under Trump's skin is the alien, but I think Keith said to me, no, the alien's on the front. It's right up front to show you who he is. And, you know, just tell us a little bit about what that movie was like shooting. Tell us about the greatest fight scene in cinematic history, 6 minutes long, with the late great Roddy Piper. Could we give a hand to the great Roddy Piper, who was so phenomenal as Nada in that movie? And just give us, like, what was that like shooting that? I know you guys rehearsed that.
I mean, it was fantastic, man. I mean, I'm getting to fight on camera with Roddy Piper. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And he showed me a couple of great moves, so anyone who ever jumps me from behind, I got something for you. You know. But it was fantastic. I've never felt safer in my life. He never hurt me. I mean, we never got hurt. Once, and it happened. You know, we were about to shoot the scene. We rehearsed it for 2 weeks, another 2-week rehearsal, and we had the choreography. You know, really wonderful. Jeff Amato was the fight choreographer.
Who also played almost all the aliens, right? Didn't he dress him up as almost every single alien?
I think he did.
Yeah.
And so we're, you know, preparing. I mean, let's say it's Tuesday night. We're going to shoot. We're going to start shooting downtown Wednesday morning. So that night, E.T. came to do an interview with us. And they wanted to see, well, show us the fight. Show us a piece of the fight. And this hadn't happened in 2 weeks. But it gets so hyped up. And, you know, that first move is I punch Roddy in the face. And I get too close to him, and I go, bam! I'm like, oh, shit! And he was like, it's okay, go.
Full contact.
But that's the only time that we made any real contact like that.
Amazing. You know, iconic death. You had we could talk to you for hours. We don't have hours. I just want to jump real fast to your latest iconic death, Nope. Can we give it up for Nope, please? Fucking amazing movie. I've watched it now like 6 times, and every single time it resonates deeper, and it's more layered, and it's fascinating, and it's scary, and it's beautiful. And Jordan Peele is absolutely he's taken the baton from Carpenter and all those guys and run with it and made something even deeper and stronger and more resonant. That's about an even deeper sense of humanity. It's fascinating. And so you play Otis Sr., and you get killed with a nickel. Now, you've gotten killed by aliens, by guns, the end of They Live, Holly Thompson, direct to the temple, right as you're about to save the world, boom, done. And then we get Nada, thankfully, helping us out. But in this movie, that movie opens up. I didn't know you were going to die when I saw it in the theaters. I didn't know. I'm like, they killed my guy 10 minutes in this, 5 minutes in this fucking movie. What are you doing? This is Keith David. I want more Keith David. What was that like, getting killed by a nickel of all things?
Hey, man, you know, shit happens. You know, I mean, it was great fun because I love riding horses, so I got to be on a horse. And, you know, in the realm of why you take a role, why, you know, the choices that you make. I mean, Otis was in a very important part. You know, he kicks off the whole story. I mean, his legacy, what he's tried to build and tried to maintain he's building through his children, have to live through his children. So they, whether you see it or not, he's constantly in their ear and in their consciousness. Just, his work ethic. And I think that's what is most present, because when you're, the talk that we have in the barn, and the moments right before Otis gets killed. I mean, it's
about legacy.
It's about legacy, yeah.
And then that scene in the car with the blood spurting out and you're...
Nasty stuff.
Nasty. You're going for all the horses, right? You're naming all your horses just to keep you talking.
Trying to keep your mind right.
Brutal. All right, we asked this of all of our guests at the end of the episode. What, Keith David, is your favorite death that you, as a fan, have seen on screen in your lifetime of watching movies and TV? Is there a death that comes to mind that had an effect on you?
Well, my own or someone else's?
No, someone else's.
Anyone familiar with a movie called The Fighting 69th? It's a James Cagney movie.
That's a resounding no, but you're all going to go home and Google it and watch it.
At the end of the movie, Alan Hale Sr., who was a great actor and one of my favorite actors, is standing at his deathbed, at Cagney's deathbed, and he tells the sergeant, he says, "Sarge, I'm sorry that I was responsible for killing your brother." But before he died, what he was in the foxhole with Alan Hale, after two of his brothers had been killed because of him, because of Jerry Plunkett. And they were fighting, it was World War I, they were fighting the Germans. And when the grenade comes into their foxhole, James Cagney, to save Big Mike, jumps on the grenade and takes one for the team, and it, of course it explodes his stomach. So at the end of the movie, and I wept every time I see this movie, at the end of the movie, he's laying there on his deathbed and he says, "Mike, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about what happened." And then he dies, and he just kind of looks away. And at that moment, Alan Hale says, chokes me. He said, "I once thought this man was a coward. From now on, whenever I hear the name Plunkett, I'm going to snap to attention and salute." And it's just the most moving moment you could ever see. I mean, it blows my head. It's beautiful.
It's awesome. And it's a death that resonates with you, and that's how these things are for all of us. We all have these emotional ties to these deaths, and that's beautiful. First of all, let's thank Keith David for being here with us today. Beautiful human being, beautiful actor. And as we do I usually wrap up our episodes by reading the eulogy of the characters, but we have the great Keith David himself, so he is we have cards out there, eulogy cards that you can see. The cards. See the cards. On the back is a QR code. You can go find our podcast, go to Apple, Spotify, all that. On the other side are the eulogies for some of Keith's most dynamic characters. Keith, would you do us the honor, please, of eulogizing some of the greatest characters in cinematic history?
This is the Princess and the Frog. With his piercing purple eyes, thin mustache, and gape-toothed smile, Dr. Facilier was always willing to lend a helping hand. One of Dr. Facilier's biggest hobbies was collecting dolls, which unnervingly resembled many of the people in New Orleans. Dr. Facilier had many friends. He had so many friends that they constructed a large gravestone featuring the doctor's face. which they were astonishingly able to erect on the very night he died. From note, Otis Haywood Sr. owned and operated Haywood Hollywood Horses, the only black-owned horse training operation in Hollywood. Unfortunately, in recent years, work for horse trainers began to take a slow gait. However, just before his death, Otis was set to mount a comeback when he wrangled a gig in an upcoming Bonnie Clayton film. While saddled on his horse, Ghost, Otis died when an errant nickel fell from the sky and punctured his brain. Mr. Childs was a professional mechanic whose fine skills led him to work in the frozen wonderland of Antarctica. Many believe that Mr. Childs died a hero, succumbing to the elements while protecting Outpost 31 from an unknown threat, possibly the Norwegians. Others believe that he was duplicated by a parasitic extraterrestrial life form that could imitate its prey. Although Childs would be the first person to call that theory some voodoo bullshit. Frank Armitage was an honest, kind, and well-built man, always willing to lend a hand. He once gave a murderer his entire week's paycheck instead of his wife and child, because, well, some murderers are people too. As a thank you, the murderer repaid Frank by forcing him to wear a pair of off-brand sunglasses. Frank finally decided to stick it to the man when he found out that the man was not a man at all, but an alien. Frank's life ended abruptly, trying to show the world the truth when he was shot by human collaborator Holly Thompson.
Please give it up for the great Keith David. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, check out that QR code. Listen to Playing Dead, our new podcast from Lionsgate Sound, available everywhere. Thank you so much, LA Comikaze!